Inhumanoids, a shockingly mature addition to 80s cartoons. The 80s had a plethora of great cartoons and toy lines that allowed children to practically bring these cartoons home. One such toy line turned cartoon was the famous Inhumanoids that debuted in the year 1986. The Inhumanoids were titular characters of the 80s children's cartoon that practically took kids by storm. What's so special about this TV show, you ask? Well, usually action cartoons were all about the cool heroes who defeated the bad guys with their high-tech gadgets and were the central attraction of the show. However, in this particular series, all the focus was on these terrifying subterranean monsters who went on rampages and scared the people of Earth no end. Yes, there were a group of heroes called the Earth Corps who always clashed against them, but the stars of the series were undoubtedly the Inhumanoids. This video is all about these subterranean monsters that took Sunday cartoon TV by storm. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. All about the Inhumanoids series. Sunbow Productions' Inhumanoids is a 13-episode cartoon series that premiered in 1986. Griffin Bacall Advertising, which had been founded 6 years before, was known for its animated advertisements for Hasbro's G.I. Joe toy line and its companion Marvel comic book. These ads were such a hit that partners Tom Griffin and Joe Bacall decided to start Sunbow. Griffin and Bacall maintained a close relationship with Hasbro, allowing Sunbow to produce several episodes based on the toy giant's intellectual property. Many of these shows have devoted fans to this day, and the two most prominent Sunbow shows, G.I. Joe and Transformers, have become DVD and streaming staples. Inhumanoids is considered by fans to be the final great series of the Sunbow toy commercial era. The Inhumanoid series began as a series of 6 to 10 minute shorts that ran with other Marvel Sunbow series, including Jem and the Holograms, Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines, and Robotics, as part of the collective Super Sunday half-hour block. Inhumanoids and Jem outperformed their fellow Super Sunday offerings by spawning their full-length series. The show, however, sadly only lasted for one season and was quickly cancelled post it.
You will go no further.
The series was produced by Toei Animation in Japan and included several well-known voice performers from the period. Decompose and Tendril were performed by Chris Latta, the famous voice behind Starscream and Cobra Commander. Augur, a well-respected archaeologist and Earth Corps' resident mechanic, was played by Michael Bell, the legendary voice of G.I. Joe's Duke, and even Cyclops in the Pride of the X-Men pilot. Hooker, the rugged commander of Earth Corps, was played by Neil Ross. The story opens with Earth Corps, a government-funded geological sciences research team discovering a monster creature subsequently known as Decompose, trapped in an amber monolith buried in Big Sur National Park. When the Earth Corps examines the creature, they unwittingly unleash a great evil. The discovery prompts Blackthorn Shaw, a corrupt industrialist, to secretly unearth and release a second beast buried elsewhere, a massive vine-like creature known as Tendril. Tendril then attacks the amber block during its public reveal in San Francisco to free the grisly titan trapped within, Decompose.
Told you there was weird energy.
The two titans, now freed, jointly wreak havoc on the city streets before retreating into the bay's murky waters. This sparks scrutiny around these gigantic monsters, and a hunt for more information to figure out where these came from begins. One of the Earth Corps' team members, Liquidator, suddenly returns to Big Sur in search of more information about the monster's origins, where he meets a race of sentient tree beings known as the Redwoods, who explain to him that they are part of a subterranean non-human creature species known as Mutores, and that their people had sealed the evil Inhumanoids Tendril and Decompose under the earth ages ago. Metla, the nefarious Inhumanoid leader, is still imprisoned under the surface, paralyzed by the magnetic field of the Mutore pair Magnocore.
And the tyrant Metlar was trapped in Magnocore's magnetic field.
The newly freed Inhumanoids were not ones to sit quietly for long, and Tendril soon wages a nocturnal assault that destroys the Earth Corps' base, causing an adrenaline-inducing chase into the Earth's deep regions. Although the Earth Corps is forced to flee to the surface, even though they had the help of another Mutore species in their mission, the rock-bodied Granites. Things don't seem to get any better for the Earth core, as it seems like the Inhumanoids best them each time. Post to this, Senator Masterson enters the picture and further complicates things. Senator Masterson, a sleazy politician in Blackthorn Shaw's murky pocket, slashes the budget of the Earth core.
Forget it, Armstrong. Your budget is cut. Earth core is history.
Sandra Shaw, Blackthorn's sister, approaches the Earth core and discloses that she has learnt of her brother's nefarious intention to liberate Metla. Sandra then funds the team's construction of new vehicles, which they use to trail Decompose and Tendril all the way to the city of the Granites, where a subsequent struggle frees Metla from Magna Core's grasp, releasing the leader of the Inhumanoids. After stealing the Earth core's engineering schematics through his ties to Masterson, Blackthorn joins the fight, now with his fighting suit and magnetic powers to use against Metla, only to be thwarted by Tendril's meddling, while Sandra succumbs to Decompose's mutative touch, which has the power to turn any living being into brain-dead zombies. The Granites and the Earth core solidify an alliance between them, and the Earth core manages to flee. Herc joins them in Decompose's domain of Skellweb, while Augur and Liquidator travel to Metla's kingdom of Infernac, and Bright persuades the Redwoods to assist in the defense of the surface world against the Inhumanoids' attempts to capture power sources. Decompose's reanimated zombie army is defeated by Herc and the Granites, and Sandra is finally restored to normal. Blackthorn follows Augur and Liquidator to Infernac, where he tries to use his magnetic talents on Metla once more, but is defeated by Magna Core and kidnapped by Metla.
Cause you will never again be free of my grasp!
The Inhumanoids then storm a Soviet airbase to increase their weapons arsenal, taking a handful of nuclear missiles based on information obtained from Blackthorn.
Metlar's armies have attacked a Soviet weapons depot and stolen enough firepower.
Earthcore is warned by a seemingly repentant Blackthorn that the missiles are meant to shatter the divide between the Earth's crust and mantle, but when the team travels into the Earth to prevent this disaster, they discover that Blackthorn has set them up and that the missiles are intended to blow up the planet's core.
Senator, it's a series of explosions designed to crack the Earth's crust.
Earthcore can persuade Decompose to let them into Infernac, a bargain made easier by the fact that the Inhumanoid is already fearful for his life in the face of Metla's lunatic plan, and they detonate enough missiles to defeat Metla's explosive scheme. Decompose is resealed in the amber case after a final struggle, and Tendril is imprisoned by the Granites. Magna Core finally defeats Metla, while Blackthorn is apprehended by the Earth core. Senator Masterson builds up a new headquarters for the Earth core team, but a tissue sample taken from Tendril during the initial contact with the monster has suddenly vanished.
Oh well, I'm sure it'll turn up sooner or later.
The entire story encompasses the happenings of the first 5 episodes that were released altogether in the form of one epic movie. The next 8 episodes were subsequently released to fill up the 13-episode quota mandated for Sunday TV shows, and these chronicle further confrontations between the Inhumanoids and the Earth core. The compelling narrative flow that connected episodes in order with continuing storylines and tense threading of subplots set the series apart from other children's cartoons of the period. The show was visually unusual for its use of thick darkness, split screens, and occasionally brow-raising graphic imagery, such as grotesque amputations or agonizing deaths by corrosive acid, which would be difficult to find in today's Children Hour programming. Now, the show managed to get away with some harsh stuff, since the enemies in the Inhumanoid series were real monsters rather than armed terrorists. This show played on territory rarely seen in Sunbow shows, including everything from gore and amputations to corrosive acid devouring a monster's flesh alive. It has been dubbed the weirdest, most aggressive, most mother-unfriendly of the Sunbow properties by writer Flint Dill. As far as the toys were concerned, each Earth core soldier had an action feature and a glow-in-the-dark gimmick in Hasbro's Inhumanoids toys. The stars, on the other hand, were supposed to be villains. Metla, Tendril, and Decompose were 14-inch tall figures that have now become valuable collector's items.
Who needs an alliance when I can have target practice? Nah!
Metla, the leader of the Inhumanoids. It is clear that while the Inhumanoids like Tendril and Decompose were terrifying, the true evil was Metlar. Metlar was a slave of Slither who ruled over both Inhumanoid and human worlds millennia ago and was forced to construct countless monuments in his master's honor. Metlar eventually overthrew Slither by encasing him in lava, which hardened into indestructible rock and trapped him. Metlar then became the Inhumanoids' new leader after placing his old master's stone shrine in one of the temples he had built. Metlar led the Inhumanoids against the Mutores in a conflict that wrecked the planet, but he was ultimately defeated and imprisoned in the Granite City by Magnocor's magnetic field. As far as his role in the series goes, he is the main villain and mastermind behind the evil deeds of the Inhumanoids. Even though Decompose and Tendril come back to life before him, they made it their mission to revive their leader, thus showing how much he was revered by them. He ruled the Inhumanoids with an iron fist and often doled out punishment to insubordinate beasts.
Do you question my authority? Take you.
He was seen as the big bad of the series, often depicted either creating chaos or, in his throne room in Infernac, the fiery pit in the Earth's core, plotting how to best create said chaos. He was shown to be a gigantic, titanesque demon with a decidedly ugly face that had massive, jagged fangs sticking out of the mouth. His face, massive muscular arms and legs were a brick red color, and the majority of his chest and body were covered by what seemed to be white or grey scales. He also had horns sticking out from the middle of his head, and all in all looked the part of a formidable subterranean monster. Metlar is extremely strong and his body is durable, owing to his gigantic size. He possesses a plethora of fire-based abilities. He can throw lava balls from his mouth, breathe fire, and, as he proved on one occasion, can spew hot steam from out of his ears in rage. Metlar seems unconcerned about being in lava or in extreme heat, and he appears to have a captivating gaze that leaves his foes tame. He also commands a legion of statue warriors, which he animates with lava from his fortress deep within the Earth's core. Metlar, on the other hand, is susceptible to magnetic waves, which render him immovable. He also has an aversion to water, according to an Inhumanoid storybook and the bio of his action figure. Metlar's servants are statues that are brought to life by the Earth's elemental force, and he is known for being a hothead fountain of rage. A fun fact in this series was that he was voiced by Ed Gilbert, who interestingly also voiced Blitzwing from Transformers. As an overarching antagonist of the series, his character does a fantastic job of being evil, scary, and all in all, just a great villain. Exploring some of the finest episodes of the show. Having explored the plot of the movie already, let's move on to the 8 independent episodes that were created post the movie. These episodes followed the creation of a new tendril from the lost piece of tissue at the end of the movie, and how that further led to Metlar enacting his evil schemes. Out of the later 8 episodes, 3 of them sit on top of the episode rating list on the rating website IMDb. The highest rated episode is episode number 7, the Surma Plan. In this episode, Dr. Mangala's acid-rotted remains are acquired by Blackthorn, who used Decompose to revive them in a skeleton grotesquerie dubbed Nightcrawler. In another piece of news, the Earth Core team defeats the second tendril creature, but the first escapes. During this time, Soviet forces launch Operation Surma, a plan to flood Infernac, Metlar's infernal base deep within the Earth's core, with water to destroy the planet's primal core in a huge explosion that will wipe out all Inhumanoids. Nevertheless, the Soviets fail to realize that their plan will likely rip the planet apart in the process.
Cause an explosion that will eliminate any chance of an Inhumanoid uprising.
To defend the planet's safety, Earth Core is obliged to join forces with Metlar. When Metlar betrays them, the gang is saved by Anatoly Kiev, a notorious Soviet military spy whom they joyfully accept into their ranks. Kiev politely declines, deciding that he should continue his mission against Infernac on his own. The episode with the second highest rating is none other than the season finale itself, Augur for President. In this episode, it picks up from 3 months after the previous Inhumanoid attack. Derek and Stella Bright, who got married in earlier episodes, are savoring their newfound celebrity status as a couple, even as the rest of the Earth Core, except Augur, who appears to have escaped fate's call, find themselves increasingly engulfed in the public limelight. Senator Masterson's presidential candidacy is met with a harsh public response, forcing Blackthorn and the Inhumanoids to plot to use intimidation techniques to get the other presidential contestants to resign. As a result, Augur resolves to run for office himself, taking on Masterson's unworthy political record. The Inhumanoids try to boost Masterson's credibility by staging a series of fake heroic deeds, but when Augur wins the election, nevertheless, the outraged Inhumanoids kidnap him and, in a final big encounter, they invite all opponents to try a rescue. While the Redwood Army overwhelms Tendril and Granite fighters flatten Metlar's Statue Legion, Earth Corps and a battalion dubbed Delta Force motor to Skelweb, forcing their way through a phalanx of skeletal warriors and disposing of the Langistoid mercenaries. As the Mutores and Earth Defense troops finally move to face Metlar's molten rage, Decompose makes a hasty getaway. Magnacore can magnetically restrain him until Blackthorn intrudes, causing Augur's life to be jeopardized. Tank and Saberjet come at the last possible moment to save the day. Augur and the Earth Corps crew reiterate the commitment to stay united in the face of the Inhumanoids' threat in light of their victory. Metlar and the rest of the beasts retreat and the series comes to an end. The third highest rated episode is episode number 10, titled Evil Eye. The mindless inhumanoid beast known as Gagoil, a cyclopean monstrosity with an insatiable appetite, is unearthed by Blackthorn and Nightcrawler from its burrowing chamber inside the subterranean bowels of a radioactive volcano in this exciting episode. After being betrayed by Nightcrawler's successive deceptions, Blackthorn flees the scene, vowing to avenge himself by unleashing the evilest inhumanoid of all time, whoever that turns out to be. Nightcrawler soon visits Skelweb, prompting Gagoil to launch an attack on Metlar's realm, although with limited success. Meanwhile, a past research associate from Blackthorn Shaw's early days in archaeological study approaches Earth Corps with a distressing story about Shaw's interest in an old temple on Borneo's Isle. But Blackthorn is one step ahead of the crew, intercepting their mission and seizing their plane before parachuting into the bush to capture his sinister reward in this one. To truly understand the essence and beauty of this show, one has to watch it. Interestingly, in 1987, Marvel Comics published a one-shot Inhumanoids comic book under its Star Comics banner, based on the premise of The Evil That Lies Within. After only 4 issues, the series came to an end, leaving readers with the cliffhanger of Metlar's escape from jail and Sandra Shaw's transformation into a decomposed zombie minion. Earth 87119 is the designation for the Inhumanoids universe in the Marvel Comics multiverse. Because the show deals with ancient animals and civilizations, perhaps from other worlds, as well as wicked scientists who break outside their borders to obtain power or forbidden knowledge, many fans believe it to be inspired by some of H.P. Lovecraft's novels. This particular perspective on the series is pretty interesting, especially from the point of view of adult viewers. One of the things that makes this under-the-radar gem stand out is that this was something we'd never seen before and still haven't when it comes to cartoons. It took risks and was ahead of its time, delving into dark territory without demeaning our intelligence or dumbing it down for viewers. It gave audiences what they truly desired, which was to be properly entertained and to see that cartoons can truly be bigger and better and don't need to rely on snazzy heroes for a fun viewing experience. We surely recommend watching this show if you're into vintage comics and don't mind some gore. What do you think about the Inhumanoids? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
Release your magnetism or I will do it for you!